Today we have a remarkable Thea Somerset from Diwala, who, together with her team, is at the forefront of building seamless access to verifiable credentials. On this podcast, we're about achieving that middle class economy. So let's get into a conversation that explores the innovative strides in digital credentials and how such advancements contribute to the broader goal of achieving a middle class economy. Thea, welcome to the show.
Much. I'm excited to be here. Absolutely.
This is great. Before we jump into the good stuff, Thea, did the NASA Road model inspire the creation of Diwala? For context, all those of you who are not in Uganda, NASA Road is where everybody gets there. So yeah, you have someone saying they have a master's in project management. When you have a conversation with them, they do not enthuse project management at all in their conversations. So tell us, Thea.
I think it comes more from the reality that there's always a kind of NASA road anywhere, in any country, in any city. And it always has to do with just making sure we keep some accountability to people and saying, hey, have you really done this?
Yeah.
And then giving transparency to ensuring that the people that have get the opportunity they deserve. That's the passion of how we started Diwala in the first place, because we just really want to unlock opportunities, that is jobs, access to finance, your ability to move to another country without the friction of just because you can't prove essential information about yourself.
Yeah.
So I think NASA Road, it's just reality, and we all know that it exists, and we all know that we need to build greater trust between people, between organizations, between systems. And that's why we in Diwala just really believe that if we ensure that you cannot basically alter the information that somebody has given to you, and it can be shared with ease without compromising the security of that information, we have a bit of a diamond. So that's what we work for.
That's beautiful. But what a way to kick us off, right, with trust. And I know of many patriots who are listening in today and go-getters who invest in their personal development. I remember one of my mentors told me to take courses on Coursera. There's another called Udemy, and then other paid for courses with Ivy League schools. People
Yeah.
now are earning global recognition certificates and they don't even have to move an inch. And I think it's a testament to what the commitment at Diwala is into continuous learning. So I saw your post, I saw your post on LinkedIn in 2023. You had already hit 41% growth in revenue in a very financial challenged market. Can you unpack that for the people listening in for, say, America, UK, or Europe, where we also have an audience? What does that mean? We had a conversation about this, that Uganda can humble you.
I think to start off, entrepreneurship humbles you. It gives you transparency on who you are, and you cannot hide from anything. And I think the situational conditions that we've seen, not just in the Ugandan market post-COVID, but also due to a very financial challenged market because of the continued, like the wars that's going on, all of it's creating so much friction, and it's inflation. There's kind of been a year where you're saying like, what more can happen? And then one more happen. I usually say, I think as an entrepreneur, you just gotta take the L's with grace, right? And because what you do as an entrepreneur is just fundamentally always challenge yourself. You're living outside of your comfort zone. And I think this year has just, like I say, has been testament to that, because we've had this 41% growth quarter over quarter, while we've downsized the team, while we've been growing in clients, while we've been growing in other countries. But so we had to deal with more with less consistently, all up until the very end of last year. And I think with me, it always just humbles me to see what we're able to do and handle with the right mentality, and the resilience just keep on going. I have some mentors that when I was back home in Norway last year just said, just don't quit. Just don't quit. And that is me praying every night and continuing getting up and keeping a sense of discipline. And that is the grit, keeping the passion to why I do what I do, but also keeping a very disciplinary reality of my day to day, and why people don't see me so much out in the social life.
Right. I completely understand that. Just to take us on a journey of Diwala, for those listeners who are trying to understand our conversation, can we level set? What do you do at Diwala?
We make it easy for banks, education institutions, like national organizations to issue digital proofs about you. So that basically is essential information about you in the way you want to prove who you are and giving trust to who you are and proving what you have and what you have done. Because there's all these realities where we go throughout our lives where there's verification checks, right?
Yeah.
So we ensure that it's easy for organizations to issue tamper-proof credentials about you. Let's say it's a proof of certificate of your degree, or if it's like a certificate that you have a loan in a bank, right? Or even a bank account. And then you can share that when you're going to apply for different jobs, services, to open up more opportunities for you. And like you said, now when we're online, there's limitless opportunities to what you can access if you can prove who you are. So that's like why we like kept it really down low to say that's the most important thing. And then what you get as a person, we call it a wallet. You can think about your wallet that you have in your back pocket. In there, you usually have your driver's license, your national ID, your money, all of that you can keep in a Diwala wallet to ensure that you can be easy to share anywhere, just in a digital format. And then when anyone wants to verify that, they know that the information is coming from the trusted institution that gave it to you. So it cannot be tampered with when you share it through your WhatsApp channels or whatnot, because I think that's what people don't know. Even when you send me like a picture of your national ID, something on a WhatsApp channel, that's very dangerous. That's essential information about you that somebody can use to hack your accounts or to use your identity or even apply for a job as you.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to avoid. And with that, we've just said that it's essential to build technology for what is and the situational conditions that is, so it's inclusive for everyone.
Right. And for those institutions you've mentioned, the banks, insurance companies, do you operate it for them, or they can also issue these certificates or degrees for themselves?
So either this is completely digital, we call it through an API, basically a system and a system talking to each other, or it is software that they use. We're just a tool. So we built a tool to allow these banks and organizations to do it for themselves, just very easy to soften the time that they're spending on it and the friction that they're experiencing. So they also take care of their customers or their students, because there's a lot of friction points and around getting information and verifying information and getting your verified copies.
Uganda, for those who went to Makerere who want a certificate or their diploma, back in the day would take ages. I don't know how it's done now. Obviously, with the digital transformation of all government institutions, probably it's easier now, but I can understand it would take. Yeah. And how long does it take with Diwala?
So we've proven to shorten this process down for like to 70 to 80% for all of our customers. So we're taking the time of issue these credentials or certificates down to minutes. And then the verification process for anyone that wants to verify down to seconds. So 3 to 6 seconds.
We love speed. It sounds great. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Today, that's all we need. And I just wonder, from your perspective, what have been, say, success stories from the platform that have really played a pivotal role in helping transform how people are working or just your institutions are working?
Yeah, I'll share 3 of them. Our first success story was in 2018 because we're the first company to ever issue blockchain-backed certificates from Clark.
Trendsetters.
Yeah, in refactories. That was global. So there was the first in Africa, and then also first it was Uganda. So we're very proud of that one because it was a landmark. And then second was we have one of our customers, the Stanbic Business Incubator, that does essential training for SMEs across Uganda.
Yeah.
With them, we've also built what we call a public business profile. So the training and compliance that a business has gone through, they now have a digital and secure way of showcasing who they are themselves as a business. And with that, through graduation, even though a lot of people came to Kampala, we then saw that like they already had their certificates before graduation. On them saying that I have this proof now that I don't have to travel 7 hours to Kampala. I can't afford to or can't because I'm running a business. I was really proud in that moment. Most importantly, because people themselves were saying, this is giving me value. And this is also putting them on the global network. Because a lot of the challenges that we see, even with the SME or SME sector, is that we don't know you exist. We don't know about your great business. And then Stanbic can work as a level of trust to say they've gone through our program, they've gone compliance, these are legit businesses, and that can open up essential services that you need as a business and also opportunities for investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that you highlighted challenges on a personal level. And you doing business, Diwala doing business here in Uganda, I'm sure you've come across a few challenges that you would recommend in policy. I know for people operating digitally, for example, the communication platforms or marketers in general have the GDPR. Is there any GDPR for your digital certification?
I love this question because I specialize in privacy design in my master's. Yeah. So number one, we ask every single person, right? So if you were to get a credential, you would be asked to consent first to receive this credential. So you can say, maybe there's a problem with your name, maybe this isn't you, but once you consented, you have it to own and share forever. You don't need to go through the friction of going back to the organization or institution yourself. So that is essential. Having consent and ensuring we give every single person opportunity to give consent, so there's no issue with your credential in first place. The second aspect is control, right? That this is your information. You should be able to control it and share wherever you want to without friction. That's principles of what we call self-sovereign identity. And that basically switches the model upside down because there's a lot of challenges with keeping all this information in what we call one place, so centralized. So because it's easy to do cyber attacks, if there's downtime, if there's a power cut, if there's a connection issue, you won't have access to the information. So we basically say we're your power bank for your essential information, right?
Yeah.
To ensure you always can access it. Then from a policy perspective, it's just very important to think about the fact that identity, and specifically your national ID and all this information, is something that you need wherever you go, within Uganda, remote, in Kampala, or when you're going abroad. So ensuring that we call this a wallet infrastructure, to be very specific, something going on in the EU right now, calling ADAS 2. And basically what that means is that we're just switching control. We're allowing you to have all this information registered from one unique address and that you build proof on top of it. So we have all in one place, but you have control of it. And you can also ensure that anyone that wants to verify it needs to send a request to you first, right? And that way you also know that if someone is trying to use your information, you will know because you will have to also give acceptance to it.
Yeah. So we, as communicators, before we didn't have to consent, right? We aggregate all this data and then use it for our advertisements. But apparently they're phasing out all these so that people actually get consent and control over how much data goes out there. So that's brilliant. Thank you. I'm just curious because you talked about having a master's in privacy design. What is top of mind? What do you know that we don't know? What should we be aware of in 2024?
I think you highlighted it, the fact that everybody's using your information right now and you have no control of who has what information about you. And then when you're moving forward in the digital age, all of these things, the moment it's online, you have no control of it with the current system. So being very conscious of what you consent to and ensuring that you are a bit more careful with what you put out there, because right now, we're kind of in a wild west, right? We've just downloading apps, we're consenting, we don't know what we're consenting to. And unfortunately, there's a lot of industry that's taking advantage of it. So what this is trying to do is basically saying that we also ensure and take care of you from an infrastructure perspective, that people cannot misuse your information as designed basically in the code. We have encrypted it, so it cannot, and that's what we know as an industry is the best possible solution as of right now, but always keep informed. I think that's the biggest thing. And, I interviewed 48 companies across 5 different countries, and I was in Silicon Valley with the Facebooks and the Airbnbs and Microsoft, and they all said privacy is dead.
Yeah.
To me, that is concerning because when we speak about privacy, we say that we only know the value of it when it's lost, right? So I don't want that to be the case. And that's why I've dedicated the past 6 years of my life to ensure that within Diwala, you have control and access and opportunity of consent. And we also helping industry to ensure that they have better practices around handling your data. Because at the end of the day, we need it because we want to design great services for you. You don't have a problem until you have a real problem. And that's the challenge about privacy and data and security. Like somebody suddenly hacked your account. They took all your money. You are in a court case because somebody did a deal being you.
Yeah.
And that's the challenges around not securing your information properly.
Yeah. And it's very rampant today that you have a lot of sex tapes in Uganda being leaked by the other person. So
Yeah.
many people fall prey of such cyber insecurity. Have you heard of policy? Have you heard of policy? I feel like such organizations, Diwala and all the others who are just sensitizing people on making better decisions on data safety and security are doing such a good job. It's
I
amazing.
feel like it's our job to do our job. We have to. And I think it's the responsibility of the industry. That's how I'm a bit different. I believe like if we're a for-profit company, we believe in that's essential to make money. And with that, we need to safeguard and take care of people's rights.
Yeah, you have a responsibility.
It should be principle. Unfortunately, not all people think so, but that's why we gotta fight. And you gotta, and I think that for every like listener, find the companies that truly care about you as a customer, right? Don't just say it's okay. As a communicator, I need to know you to tell you a great story.
Yeah.
And so we just shouldn't be on the compromise of somebody's security.
Yeah.
And that's very important.
That is great. You mentioned infrastructure over there, and being in Uganda, I can imagine Diwala being a digital platform. You probably need a very strong internet or other factors that help you thrive in such an environment. If a policymaker was listening in today on the podcast, what would you tell them? What would be your request or your recommendation?
Number one is the creation of a sandbox for people that's building digital services so we can try and understand in a safe environment without affecting citizens and organizations and compromising any security.
How does that work practically? I can't seem to get my mind around the sandbox.
So a sandbox is a digital testing format. So we ensure we can test different solutions without actually doing it. That's a part of how government allows us to build and test between the services that is, so we can build great products and services. The second part is, as I said, looking more of a wallet infrastructure that is not centralized because of the challenges that we have here, right? And sometimes,
sorry, what challenges have you encountered on your Diwala journey in Uganda?
number one, power issue. The challenge of power outages and the inconsistency of the internet.
Yeah.
And some of it's outside your control. And I know there's a continuous effort to try to ensure it's better. For me, that is, I have 3 setups right now. I have 3 routers. I have a backup solar panel with the German box. And I have a routers. If all fails, I still have.
It sounds like a war zone. A war zone.
But the thing is, these challenges can be everywhere. It's not just Uganda. This happens for internet, depending on where you are. It's not that it's the best in Europe and everywhere in Europe or the US at all. And I think that's a very important conversation to have. So when you're talking about building policy, specifically with digitalization, that's why I say you cannot centralize everything. Because with that one system goes down, your citizens don't have access to the essential services that they need just in their daily lives. I usually tell the story of how during COVID, my SIM card got stolen with my phone, right? My Norwegian SIM card. That is connected to what is my national ID in Norway.
Wow.
And without that, there's basically this code you need to log into any essential services. And because this is tied to a SIM card to set up, was blocked and logged out of all my Norwegian systems for over 8 months.
Wow, you would think
Bank,
it would be
tax system, health, all of it, while I was here. And that's saying something, and that's Norway, we're like at the forefront of digitization.
Yeah.
So what we are really trying to do in Diwala is there's a lot of things we've done with digitalization across Europe that we're trying to fix right now. So we're trying to leapfrog Uganda over those hurdles that we see now dealing with.
Yeah, so probably now that you'd have to take a few lessons from Uganda to Norway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I always tell the story of mobile money started in East Africa.
Yeah.
It came after. There's so many things that we have to learn about how Africans and Ugandans do things, like your adaptability, like the resourcefulness when there's a problem. When there's a problem for a Norwegian, they're like, they're
I don't get the joke.
The Norwegian joke is they just don't deal with it very well.
Okay.
Because they're not used in the same way, you know? So what I mean by that is that they think a problem isn't really a problem. That like here we would like, that's nothing. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a Norwegian would get it, a European maybe, but it's just what is an actual problem.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you were still giving us points or recommendations for the policymaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
I think
we had the handbox, the wallet infrastructure.
Yeah, and like I said, the centralized wallet and also not having a centralized infrastructure for existing governmental systems, like embracing public-private partnerships, and then ensuring that you keep true to what the situational conditions that are here. Don't copy something from outside if it doesn't work here. I believe in Uganda for Uganda. What is great and what should be built for what is the situation that is here. And that's what we try to do with Diwala as well, and why we've focused it around what is. To build a bridge towards the future.
I love that. I think Uganda for Uganda should be our new slogan for the podcast.
I think Uganda is an amazing country. Naturally, every country has its challenges, but the size of your population, how young it is, that's opportunity. It's just finding the right way and not undermining the challenge that is.
Yeah.
But still being passionate and driving a collective force together, how community can drive change together forward. That's what I would love to see for Uganda.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's such valuable insights. Now, for that one entrepreneur who's listening in right now, you spoke about having interviews with people in Silicon Valley. What advice would you give them in terms of developing themselves? Because you're more into education, and I'm not sure where I've read it, but you come from an educational background, right? And Diwala predominantly focuses on awarding trainings or knowledge in general. What kind of advice would you give for self-development for the young listeners today?
Oh, big question, but it's a great one. I would say first it's mentality, and I would say dare to be passionate.
Yeah.
Dare to care about something, like truly. Don't try to be too cool, just dare, really, and dare to stay consistent. It's a long road. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be different hurdles. It's going to be so many times where you don't want to do it. Stay consistent. And then just be caught trying. Everybody else is going to see, what are you doing? They're going to question what you're doing. Just continue. So have the humility and embrace humility that I'm here, like doing what I can. And I think that's the number one key to entrepreneurship, alongside with humility. We always have something to learn. And like I said, the past year has been unbelievable in terms of lessons and growth and everything. And then ask questions.
Yeah.
I think being great at asking questions, train yourself, then you can really dig into figure out what a real problem is, or what the misunderstanding actually was. Because there's a lot of people that want to give you advice, and that's usually not going to help you that much, because they don't know about what you're building as much as you do. But they can ask you the right questions, and having mentors and people around you support you, and daring to be vulnerable through the challenge, is essential with business. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, this is a great challenge for myself. And then let go of your work early. Stay away from perfectionism. Continue to do. You'll grow, you'll be better.
Wow, that's great. And I like how this conversation has gone. You passionately shedding more light on your crucial role of the digital credentials, but also just your drive and energy to make known what you have gathered along the way. So that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Before we go now, we have a general question we ask every guest that has ever come on the podcast on Uganda. Are you ready, Thea?
I'm ready.
I'll use your word. You said entrepreneurship is such a long road, and I'll use the same for Uganda achieving the middle class economy by 2040. I think it's going to be a long road. What do you think is going to take Uganda to achieve that middle class economy projected by the World Bank?
Unity.
Ooh, tell me more.
There needs to be an objective. That objective that is set, there needs to be unity to an action to move it forward. And that is letting go of a lot of conditions that might be because of different realities and ensuring that every Ugandan can be proud of their country in a good way and treating their country and their streets and everything around because they're proud of it, taking good care of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what unity creates.
And you say that with a lot of conviction. What has made you think there's no unity? Give us examples.
I think there is just polarity among youth and elders in terms of what you want, while in reality, maybe the older generation is not sharing why it's essential that we keep security to such a perspective that is. And then a lot of youth is probably feeling misunderstood and not seen because of the realities of challenges that they're going through. And I believe that if we start having a conversation collectively about where we want to go and listening from both sides, you can try to carve out that objective. If it's education, if it's agriculture, if it's road infrastructure, because I think that Ugandans are some of the most amazing people I met. You have such a kindness to your heart. And I believe this country deserves to be seen for the strength and opportunities that it has. And that is also being proud of your country and moving forward with the grit and action to ensure that you can be. And then also telling other people great things about it.
Yeah.
Which is why I love what you do. Communication is essential to bring forward the voice of your own country and bringing voice of the opportunities and the stories of the country.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I thank you for coming on to the podcast today.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering before we go, if we had you down onto the podcast about 5 years down the line about Diwala, what's your future plans? What's exciting?
I truly hope that we are talking about how local leadership has built the company to success. And success means a certain number of jobs and loans and opportunities that the company has created for people, because that's what we believe in. I always say my job is to one day not be needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought we were talking about the success story of the local talent that's taking over the company from across the continent.
Yeah.
And how it's now a success story for people to talk about trust.
Yeah.
And how digital systems can build trust between people.
Yeah. Where do you have a footprint across the continent?
Right now, we're in 10 African countries.
We'll be able to put the website link in the show notes. Do you have a New Year resolution?
Yeah, I have. My New Year resolution is putting myself first.
Very aspiring, Thea. Thank you so much for making time today. Looking forward to the 5 years of Diwala.
Likewise, thank you so much for the opportunity and amazing questions.